Okay, I think we're good. Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Excuse me, I need to cough. Instantly, I need to cough. That's never a good sign. Okay, potentially lots can go wrong on this stream because I honestly can't remember if I had a new mic last week. I don't know if I did. The mono thing should be sorted, and I've switched to a new program that I'm using called Metal Studio, that I'm using for streaming because it's kind of groovy, and I'm looking for something that I can use to do kind of complex streams. Yay, I'm in both ears. Fantastic. Thanks, Cam. Because I'm going to have like a lot of guests appearing, or at least I hope a lot of guests appearing on streams over the coming weeks. So that will be fun. And that starts on Monday. I'll be doing a stream with Taylor from Creaturecaster. We'll be talking about the Great Hunger. So be here to ask any questions that you have about lore stuff. Push on rules. I don't know how much they want to talk about rules, but push them on it. Why not? We'll find out what we can. Yeah, so hello John, hello Reaver, Emerald Hedgehog, Chili, David, Chemical, Hey Kool-Aid. I laugh every time I see your name, I'm sorry. Dylan, Tom, Evil Bread, what up Bread? And yeah, thanks so much for popping in and visiting the stream. I'm trying to remember where I put things. I think I put a thing here. Let me check. Yeah, okay, I put a thing there. And I'm still getting used to this new setup. So if I open the map, there we go, a map. How beautiful. Tomas was supposed to send me the Latin after Adepticon, but he had to go to play like straight away and he never sent me the Latin. And I don't want to bother him for the Latin, but every time I zoom in, it's pretty scuffed. So I might actually message Jared and ask for like a very high DPI version of the map and see if he trusts me with that, so I don't just start instantly selling illegally printed versions of the map. But yeah, there's the map. I initially thought we'd be able to oh, no problem, Fungal. Okay, just before you go, I'm assuming it's Fungal Studio, not Fungal Studio. So correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for the compliment, and enjoy the stream when you do get around to watching it. So Andrew, glad I could finally catch a live stream. Hopefully you have fun. I'm not the most entertaining guy in the world, I would say, but I'm very glad that you are here. No Gollum City of Prague. My disappointment is immeasurable. So there could be all kinds of stuff. That's one of the things that came out of my conversation with Jared, and I'm going to give you an anecdote basically from my own personal experience of how Trench Crusade is formed, and it might horrify you when you learn this, so bear with me. Just because something on the map, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and just because something, or it does exist, and just because something isn't on the map, it doesn't mean that it does exist, because the map would have been commissioned by someone in the Trench Crusade universe who has a story to tell, who has some kind of bias. I'm personally currently headcanoning that the map, I get the feeling it was Jared, when I was talking to him, he kept saying somebody from England. He kept saying Britain. And I'm like, I think the person who commissioned this shit is British. And Tomas mentioned a Welsh monk. or a Welsh nun in the Discord, and I was like, okay, so this person is probably British, so it's somebody in England trying to tell the tale, and they are perhaps trying to tell the tale that the war is going better than the war might be going, maybe. You'll notice that England is very much highlighted on the map. The British Isles are very much highlighted as like a glorious place of sunshine. You know, just look, after talking to Jared, it was interesting to see the wiggly sunbeams and all that kind of stuff coming out of there, and it looks very nice and all that kind of shit. I know the nun shit on it with the Latin. She was like, it's fucking rainy here and I ain't coming back. But I do get the vibe that it's a little bit biased in favor of humanity. That's at least my current working theory. But that's the thing that I like about Trench Crusade the most, and I know is annoying to some people, but I like how uncertain everything is, and I like the way that things are being developed, because you never really know if it's true or false. Okay, I'm going to read through some comments before I leave too much behind. Yes, they had David, they had a version printed on like canvas, I think, at Adepticon, and I've told them I want one, and I'm assuming lots of other people will want one, so they should probably do that as a product, and I think a bunch of us would buy it. So for sure, I just wish we had a Canada and America. I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate that people from both Canada and America, and even, you know, other parts of the world, I'm not saying this is a NA bias or anything, just want to know more about the world and how broad it is. But I'll be honest, from a petty Irish guy's point of view, I've enjoyed watching a lot of the kind of, a lot of people wondering, like, where's America? Like, it's almost like shock that America isn't in a game, which is interesting when like, I'm from like a tiny country, so it's fun to see everybody from a big country just not feeling like they're being included, and then kind of looking at them and going, what, you know, are you making any connections here? So yeah, what do you call an alligator who works at the stock market? An investigator. Oh my god, I might ban you, Dylan. What the fuck? The map is such a vibe. It's not at all geographically accurate, but it's so awesome. See, that's just my take on it, man. I'm just trying to be as chill as possible when I'm approaching Trench Crusade, because I feel like there's a lot of people who are being decidedly unchill, and I just don't want to let them ruin my mood. Like, I've been in such a good mood lately. Scafani, I hope for that as well. Love the potential of America's history mixed with this alternative universe. Yeah, I'm not being mean. Like, I am super interested to see how it goes and how they implement it and stuff. But for now, it's humorous to me. Where's New Antioch on the map? New Antioch is like down here. This. I'm going to zoom all the way in. It might look kind of bad at this DPI or whatever, but this is New Antioch right here. So, they've got the pinch, they've got Cyprus doing... Like, can you imagine how much work Cyprus is doing to keep New Antioch... New Antioch... Okay, I'm not going to explain what was wrong with your joke. It was a dad joke. You know what was wrong with your joke. My first question, what's with the Baba Yaga on the map? So I was talking to Jared. I brought up the Baba Yaga, and I was like, is that just a thing? Like, is that there? You know the way on old maps they would write, like, here be monsters or whatever, because a bunch of ships might go down in a strange or specific area of the sea, and they wouldn't understand enough about the currents or the shoals or the reefs or the whatever in that area to explain it away through science. So they would come up with sea monsters, like over here, and they would write, like, here be monsters on the map to imply it was dangerous or whatever. So I was asking that about Baba Yaga. Is that like a thing, or is it actually Baba Yaga? And it could be Baba Yaga. We literally could end up getting that in the game. Yet no confirmation on the existence of Europe. This entire thing could be a fever dream of a lunatic. I'm also curious what's going on in the American side of the world. Everyone's curious. Blah, blah, blah. That's why Britannia is so highlighted. Yes, that is what I realized when I was talking to Jared. Like, that's why this place. Like, if you look at the map, your eye is drawn here. As an Irish guy, I'm maybe a smidge worried about the inclusion of us. We've seen this one before, and I don't want to go through it again. So yeah, definitely an interesting one. But yeah, that's like one of the things that really kind of stood out to me after my chat. New Antioch is in the middle of the Great. Yeah, I did wonder what was up with the Golden Circle. Yes, it's groovy. I like being in the Golden Circle. I just don't want to get invaded by heretics or people from hell. That was a joke, by the way, before anybody. The food and the weather here is great. I will not be returning. Yeah, that was funny. How does this random ass British guy know what my man Bielsa looks like? Yeah, exactly, right? So that will be a artistic interpretation of these guys and what they assume to look like. I mean, if you think about it, right? If you were gonna, knowing what we know about Beelzebub and how Beelzebub appears to be a creature of great gluttony and disease, like, that's not how I would think of to draw Beelzebub personally. But obviously this person did. I believe that said Cambridge RAF Waterbeach for 3.5 years. I loved it. Cambridge is a smashing spot actually in England, I have to say. Hope to keep a lot of the world's backstory as a mystery. You and me both. I've said it before. We've talked about it a little bit on this stream in the past, where I feel like one of the things that is very at odds for me is this overload of information. And I'm going to pick on 40k a little bit there, where there's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books in the Black Library and all kinds of extended bits and bobs everywhere. I'm just going to grab something real quick. This is my 2nd edition Chaos Codex. That's what I was playing with when I first got into the Warhammer 40k. And this was all I had for lore. That was it. That was all I would have access to. And there was no Black Library and shit like that at the time. You'd occasionally get like stories and stuff in a White Dwarf maybe. But for the most part, the assumption was if you were going to be playing 40k and you were a Chaos guy, that this would be your source of lore. So the amount of stuff that's just like open-ended or loose or wishy-washy, because obviously a vast amount of this is left over to rules and stuff, but you'd have like literally, okay, I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the Cairn the Betrayer page, who's always going to be one of my favorite Chaos characters. You had 8 paragraphs of lore about Cairn the Betrayer. 8 paragraphs total, and that was it. That's all you had. You had that in the rules, and you did a lot of the work yourself in your brain. Hey Mac, you know, you did a lot of the work, and it was cool. So I agree with you 100%. Is basically what I'm saying. I hope they keep a lot of stuff as a mystery. I think there's a lot of pressure now to overload audience with information, and the assumption is that there'll be an information point that somebody will always like, and that will always appeal to somebody, and I think that is a mistake. As an Irish guy, what you think about Kilkenny being the capital now? I don't mind. I don't mind Kilkenny being the capital. It does make sense. Somebody pointed out that, well, first of all, before we get into that, Kilkenny was a very important town in Ireland back in the day, especially around the time of... There's an era in Ireland history where we rule by these things called Brehon laws, which were a really interesting set of laws. And then we started to get invaded, so all that got watered down. But Kilkenny was very important then. One of the things that somebody pointed out was that because they mentioned that Ireland is always getting raided by the heretics, there's always bad guys showing up, that there would be, unlike how it developed in real life, where all the important cities in Ireland, for the most part, are on the coast, that wouldn't have happened. They wouldn't have been able to establish on the coast. So Kilkenny would have been, because Kilkenny, like, this is why I'm not really worried too much about what people are saying, because Kilkenny, it's not here. Like, this is not where Kilkenny is. Kilkenny is literally around here. So it's a good, safe place to have a city and have a seat of government and have stability from. So yeah, I think it's really fun. I think it's good world building. Dug in cat, go on Ireland. Up the fuck. Reaver 45, they can leave the new world out for me. I like the Eurocentric focus of the setting so far. P.S. I'm American. That's a really, that's actually, I would say, I don't want to say a common opinion, but I've seen a lot of people kind of have that opinion where they're enjoying just the thing for what it is and they're not fretting too much about what comes in and when. But it will be exciting, I think, as we see more stuff unfold. New Antioch is like right there. So obviously it's a small map and scale and whatever, but like New Antioch, the Iron Wall, they really are like right there beside Trouble. So it's no wonder the world is investing in them to keep them, vital in the fight, basically. Or would it make them search for new land to settle? Be forced to travel across the oceans. So is Russian Empire pro-Antioch or heretical? I would assume, unless they're crazy, I would say they're like pro-Antioch. There's no reason for them to be heretical unless they've been infiltrated a lot by believers. Hey SpongeBob, how are you? The crest is seriously lacking in green. Well, historically, no. Green is like a reasonably modern thing. Like, there is a lot of green in the classic what we call provinces, but I like the blue. I think the blue is good. I like the gold because the gold is reminiscent of saffron, and saffron was like a hugely important color for us in historically. I'm also curious now as to what's going on in the Asian countries. They could be fighting for their life and we wouldn't know. Yeah, exactly. Like, all good things will come with time, I think. There's another spot that I'm really curious about. There's an unlabeled horned icon altar thing in the Balkans area, just west of the heretic forces there. Oh, here? That is interesting. So, when I was talking to Jared, it came up that these little symbols are basically individual commanders of demonic forces. That's what they were thinking, or at least that's what he was thinking when he was placing them. That these will be like important people in the hierarchy of the forces of hell, and you can really see them like pushing against the Iron Wall, trying to find a weakness. Like, people always, like, one of the things I found quite interesting, and I don't mean to shit on anybody when I say this, but one of the things I found quite interesting is people are like, why don't you just like go north if you're the heretics? It's ignoring the fact that you don't want to march anywhere with an enemy at your back. Like, this here stops this here. Like, it's there is like a tremendous stalemate occurring in this area in general. That's why they need to muster like a very large force and then go north into Europe, because every time they do, they run the risk of a bunch of Takwin beasts coming out and just chewing them up. So Is Tullamore the new capital? As long as they're giving out free Tullamore Dew, it's all gravy. Where was I? I forgot where I was. What was I talking about? Asian countries. Yeah, there we go. Yes, Chile, the curious spot. Hey, gang. Hey, Mac. That's what 40 plus years of lore building does. There's so many stories interwoven. Exactly. And unfortunately, from a lore point of view, it's kind of set a standard for people who might be interested in lore. Like, there's so many people who they don't care much for Warhammer 40k as a product, anything other than lore, which is very understandable because, as you just said, there's 40 plus years of lore building there from a huge variety of writers who brought different ideas to everything, and there's lots of interwoven fabrics. So it's not like Trench Crusade can just like compete with that and offer people that level of lore right now. It just can't. I enjoyed the Horus Heresy more before it was explained out in 100 plus books. Yes, I have been reading through all the Horus Heresy books again because I've been reading lots of books from wargaming worlds. Basically, I'm trying to see like what's the standard, what's out there, how are companies approaching creating these books for no reason other than I would love to like write a book, I guess. So it's been an interesting bit of homework, and it's definitely like it's a slog in places, right, to get through the sheer kind of volume of explanation as to the Horus Heresy, because they have to tie in so much. Every time they want to sell a product, they got to tie it in a little bit. So Grimdark fans are uncomfortable with uncertainty. Yes, and that's extremely interesting to me. I find that a challenging dichotomy amongst people where they definitely want to live, or they definitely want their imagination, I will say, to live in a world that can be extremely dark and horrible. But the idea of not knowing what has happened or will happen is quite scary to them. So I think that might be indicative of the draw of the Grimdark. There's still like people like to have a degree of control in there and assume that, you know, if I am this guy or that guy, then this will or won't happen to me. How come we still don't have the 4K image of this map? I've no idea. I do not know. I've just not been bothering the team very much because I know Adepticon would have been extremely busy and tiring, and I know that Tomas is like straight out the door, and I just don't want to be up in their business about stuff right now. I want to let them chill after getting back, because they'll have gotten back to a bunch of shit that they needed to do, basically. So I'm gonna let them do it. Yeah, that's really like the best explanation. Obviously, they're going to be selling prints, so you don't want high DPI versions out there. It's the Principality of Novigrad. Yes, that's very true. Actually, it is the Principality of Novigrad. Yumi? I'm going to say Yumi, and if I'm wrong in Yumi, just correct me in the chat. Hello, only me disappointed by how little space is controlled by Hell. I'm not disappointed because of the reasons that I'm kind of... These are not areas that are being controlled by Hell so much as these are areas where massed forces of Hell exist, right? Where they have very strong influence. But they also have entire towns of heretics and entire cities of people that are loyal to them, both overt and covert. So you can't just do a map and go, Hell owns all of this, by the way. Because then where's the surprise when something comes out of there? From a narrative point of view, it's just not something that you can do. Because whoever drew the map in world doesn't know. So that's kind of my take on it. I also feel like whoever drew the map has been like paid off a little bit by whoever got them to draw the map to downplay how much of the world is currently in trouble. It's actually easier, I would say, to in the economy that might exist within the world of Trench Crusade, I get the vibe it's probably easier to raise funding for a war that people think you're winning. Because you're getting in with Jesus if you pony up the dough. I don't think Asia needs a ton of exploring. I don't want the scope to get too big. Yeah, not a bad take at all. Definitely quite valid. The bigger they go, the bigger the scale creeps, the more difficult it will be. I would maybe, if it were me, what I might do is scale up as the game literally scales up. If I was doing something new or different or interesting, like bringing out an entirely new game in like 6 years' time, I might scale up the world that way and kind of, you know, sell the interest in that way. Iron Tarkus taking a day off from the Souls. A lot of Asian countries have a history that involves a split between native powers and colonial powers. Heretics with their naval forces could fairly easily replace that influence, perhaps. I 100% agree. Would open up for more flavors of good guys too. Agreed. 100%. I agree. You could have lots of spots in Asia who the heretics arrive, you're mirroring that historical arrival by much of Europe, and it just goes like a completely different way, right? Because heretics are not showing up with any degree of diplomacy whatsoever. They're not going to try and win people over in that sense. The kind of, they're just going to like beat you down, make you loyal, and then start winning you over from there with brute force and might. So you could really have some interesting occurrences. There's a lot of lore as well about how heretic forces fight each other just about as much as the faithful, just competing for prestige of the other side. Yes. So if you take a village, you could very well wake up the next day and be defending it from the Black Grail or the court if you're heretics, because they just want it, or another group of heretics want it, or your demon prince has decided fuck that demon prince and you're fighting it out. So, you know, there's a lot of space in there. Something I like about Trench Crusade is that because there's not a ton of lore, more as a fandom is involved in the hobby side of things and actually paints miniatures and plays them. Yes. Obviously, as a fan of the game, I like the room to operate when it comes to having an impact on the lore. I've really been taking on board people's feedback lately about not everybody likes the fact that I'll drop in something that isn't necessarily true and whatever. So I've been making those moments even more delicate than I was before, and I've been conversating with the devs about certain things, and mostly I'm going to start being very kind of, when the lore drops occur, I'll do my videos, it'll just be the official lore drops, and then I'll do my speculation and things like that in the video, and my further information. That seems to go down really well with the War Cardinals video, so I'll try and do a better job of fleshing everything out. But I love being able to add little bits of information, even just tiny little bits of information, just into the conversation, and then see them get like sucked up into the world. I think that's very cool, and I enjoy doing it a lot. Oh yeah, I said I'd give you like an anecdote as to how Trench Crusade is developed as a game. So I needed to do something. I needed to create something within the world of Trench Crusade for Hand of Fate if I'm going to take it a certain way. And I was like, shit, I really need X to exist. I'm not going to tell you what it is because that'd be a spoiler. And I sent Mike a message and I was like, hey bud, I need to like do this. Do you have any objection to it? And we just sat there for like 2 hours refining the idea. You know, what would it be? What would it mean? What would things be called? How would things be referred to? And, you know, that was it. Like I had my palette, like I had my idea. It was all polished up. and we were good to go. So now I can work it in and not fear how I'm putting it into the story. So it's an incredibly fun way to be able to approach a game. Ben, what up, man? Long time. Hope you're doing well. Withered versus Hey, hi. Hope you're doing well. Manda, hey Manda. Evening fellas. Also a question, what are the golden circles around Holy Rome, Spain and England? I missed that part. So my take on the holy circles is that they're denoting importance of those areas to the map maker. And I don't think it's a tremendous shock that they are extremely historically in the real world very, very, very religious areas, like extreme hotbeds, right, of religious fervor. So that's my understanding, is that this is potentially a map showing these areas of the sea are vitally important and we need to protect them at all costs, compared to the other areas just being kind of left out to dry potentially. So that's just my headcanon. That's how I've been thinking about it. So, all right, I'm going to do a drop. I'm going to do a Discord invite drop because I forget about the Discord all the time. And if people want to join the Discord, feel free. As soon as I remember where it is, I'm in a lot of Discords right now. Invite people, copy. All right, there's the Discord link if anybody wishes to join who isn't a member. Feel free. Alrighty, I was answering Amanda's question. I'm a little behind. I'm going to try and speed run just a smidge to catch up a little bit. The problem with getting into 40k is trying to read through hundreds of books to understand the lore. I'm glad Trench Crusade is in its infancy and see how the world develops over time. Agreed 100%. I think lore now is super, super interesting because there's so many ways to get into it that didn't exist before. Like, you can sit there and you can watch... No shit, I'm going to talk about this now that I think about it. You can sit there for 40k and you can watch a hour-long video and be like, oh, okay, I now know 1/10 of all the information about that one character. And it can be very intimidating, the sheer volume. So it's definitely nice to have Trench Crusade. I think that's one of the reasons why it appealed to me so much, was it was small at first and it fit in my brain pretty well. So definitely agreed there. Speaking of cities of the Hell Forces, I look at how those operate, the logistics, economy, recruitment, etc. would be cool. That's one of the things that there's two things I'm super interested in. And I was talking about this with Jared in the video and somebody else that I'm not going to mention this week because it's a secret. But the economies of hell, of cities and its society and its culture, and how that takes hold in heretic lands that they control, I'm incredibly interested in, and I would love to know more. And then the other thing I would love to know more on, which isn't something that's been delved into hugely yet, is the art in the world of Trench Crusade. What is it like? If Shakespeare existed, what did he write? You know what I mean? Like, what would Yeats write about in a world like this? I'm super interested, and I'm hoping to have a kind of a talk maybe with somebody about that on a wee podcast at some point. So we'll see. Since you have more info on this game than most, do you know when we're getting the Path of the Beast or the Church of Metamorphosis? No, I have no idea when we might be seeing those. That's... What am I going to say here? It's always hard to not sound like I'm speaking for the devs, but my understanding of things is that right now they really got to just get this rule book done. There's campaign rules to do. There's a lot to do. They got to get that final balance in place. They got to get everything nailed down, and then they'll move on to bigger, I don't want to say bigger and better, but broadening the scope of things. Were I to guess based off the things that I've seen and heard, I would imagine the next set of rules will probably be for the Hebrew Knights working title, Hebrew Knights, and that's just an assumption. That's not me telling you that's what's definitely going to come next. That's just what I feel. That's the vibe I'm picking up, that they'll be the next ones that we really get detail on. I would say. I'm wondering how the Americas will click. Yeah, everybody's wondering about that. I don't mean to like rush past whenever that one comes up, but yeah, everybody's wondering that. Also, hell doesn't need traditional agriculture, as they have hell flora that grows. Yeah, exactly. You know, the logistics of hell are super interesting. Learning in the most recent lore drop that they can just do like automaton armies to solve that problem is incredibly interesting too. That implies to me, if they have armies of automatons and we have lists that don't have too many automatons in it, we're probably going to get an automaton list at some point. Right? That's just how my brain works. That's what I would love to see. And I'm a sucker for robots, folks. I absolutely love them. Alrighty, where was I? Would America even exist in this timeline? No, not as we know it now. There's almost no way for it to exist. The age of colonialism and expansion, it never really occurred from a European perspective. So whatever got over there was likely not, I nearly said not having a good intent, but like historically what got over there didn't really have a good intent. But yeah, whatever got over there potentially wasn't fateful. It was more than likely the baddies. So we will see how it goes. I like storytelling and lore building. Is the company looking anywhere towards role-playing games for folks or P within the world? I would assume that nothing is off the table. That will make sense, but they are still ultimately a small company, so they would need, just based off what I know of how the Westphalia thing came about and the Creature Caster thing came about, they would need somebody with a lot of previous experience who makes the right pitch, and it makes a lot of sense. But even if you were to do it, I would argue they don't necessarily have the world built up enough to have proper RP going, unless you do it like solely in the front lines, and that's not really interesting. You want to be RPing in a heretic city, right? You want to be good guys infiltrating a heretic city. I think that's the way to do RP. That would be the setting I would go for. It would be the one that would make sense and be interesting. But we've literally just talked about everything that you would need to do to properly establish that kind of lore. So they would have to do all that first and then do it. But yeah, I would love to see it. I've been just doodling, nothing serious. Just for my own fun, I've been working on like a kind of a Marvel Snap clone, but it's Trench Crusade. So instead of like playing Iron Man, you like pop down a werewolf. That's been fun, and I'm pretty stupid, like, and I can have that kind of fun. So I'm assuming there's smart people out there who can look at Trench Crusade and get this kind of stuff together. But I wouldn't expect anything to happen along those ways soon. Hellbill is incredibly dense as well. Huge underground cities and inverted pyramids with Kowloon walled city levels of density. Yes, just everything like crammed in on top of each other. No consideration for comfort or space. The point is the punishment, right? Hell also benefits significantly from the factors than the faithful. Yes, because maybe one of the things that the church does wrong potentially is when somebody goes, okay, I'm done with hell, this was a really bad idea, they're like, fuck you, you're damned, like, get executed. So that's maybe an interesting one. I've toyed with the idea of a homebrew warband that is defectors from hell, like former heretics who are seeking some form of salvation for themselves, like almost impossible to get in the eyes of the church, but maybe they're willing to just go, well, what's it got to do with you? This is between me and God. So who knows? Maybe they're so crazy they think they've been called by God. to return to the faithful. Like, you can have trench pilgrims, why not reverse trench pilgrims, basically? So, you know, just there's so much space to fuck around with ideas. It's crazy. Now keep putting your own stuff in there. We cannot have everything be clear. I really appreciate the debates over not knowing if anything is true or not. I like the way I'm so easily moved in like one direction or another that you just go, you know, put your own stuff in there, and I'm just like, okay, fuck it, I will. There is a big theme of free will and consent. People willingly bow to the forces of hell for a variety of reasons, except for Black Grail, of course. Yes, and even then with the Black Grail, you still have the Plague Knights, right? Who they're the ones who embrace the Black Grail and are eager for it, and it's some of the most powerful. So once again, free will is elevating. Evening Scanner, nice to catch a live stream. Hey Paint, how you doing? I hope you're doing well and having a good evening. Chemical. Oh, I'm missing these. I didn't even realize people were doing that. I'm sorry. Paint, thanks so much, man. You don't need to be doing that. Knock it off. And Mr. Sinner, same. Really appreciate it, but like no need for the supers. Alrighty, I'll do those questions first though. What's your favorite map theory that you've seen? What's my favorite map theory that I've seen? That's a good question. My favorite one that I've seen, I think, is the sea serpents. Somebody was vibing with the idea that they're actual like mobile hell portals, so they pop up and they chuck out some some heretics or some demons or some whatever, and then they're on their way, and like they just swim around randomly coughing stuff up that's really awkward for us to deal with, or kind of a randomized weapon would be dope. Alrighty, I'm gonna scooch back up. Oh, Mr. Sinner, sorry. Hey mate, love your lower vids. TC is metal as fuck. Agreed. 100%. The metal is the appeal. Alright, where are we? Andrew, no need to introduce the Americas anytime soon. The current map has a lot of culture to explore. That would be more interesting than just adding on the Americas. I do not disagree. There's a lot to get through on the map as the map currently exists. So I'm going to let them cook. Like, I really don't want to get myself in a position where I'm putting a bunch of pressure on the devs to do anything that I personally want. So, yeah. Hey, Kool-Aid. To piggyback on that, I was real late to the party on 40k. I feel like I get to take part in something from the ground up and really get it. Yes, and that's cool, and potentially explains away some of the more negative reactions that we see sometimes to something like Trench Crusade, as people thought it was a thing that they'd be in from day one and have that appeal for them, and then for whatever reason it's not their thing anymore, or it's not something that's actively appealing to them the way that they wanted to. Yeah, it fucked up SpongeBob's name there, so he's Pong Bob from now on in this chat. Anyway, Scanner legit one of my only sources of lore for Trench Crusade. Thank you so much. There are other good ones out there, including in this chat right now. Feel no paint. So go over and check out his stuff. Stitch and Kitten, the Vicious Chicken of Bristol is such a great name. That's my wife, everybody. Say hello. Jeremiah of Akron. Machiavelli would be on hell's side. Yeah, agreed, right? Same with like Caravaggio's probably like, yeah, pull his skin off so I can paint it. Shit like that. And before Bosch's paintings are just normal everyday scenes in Trench Crusade. Yeah, he's just like a He's almost just like a photojournalist, essentially. I'm curious what the wall looks like on the Asian side since the forces of hell passed east of the Caspian Sea on the map. Hey, interesting point. I like that. That's something I didn't really consider. I've been very map-centric, I guess, in my... Because, yeah, look, hey, look over here. Look at that. Alrighty. In the War Cardinals video you uploaded, this is like when people ask me about my homework. I always start to sweat. It's like, oh God, you mentioned that there are 12 of them currently employed by the church. Do you think they got at least one present per major theater of war? That is my understanding of it, yes. That each one, there's 12 hugely important domains, I guess, that make up the faithful areas. And the church has assigned a war cardinal for each one. The war cardinal that we learned about was local, obviously, to the Papal States and had a very strong emotional reason to want to win. So that could be I don't want to say a prerequisite, but it could be a very important thing in their minds when it comes to choosing who to send, right? They want somebody who's super invested, that they think, right, you know, this guy's really going to give a fuck for XYZ reasons. So with the power of God and rage on his side, he might just get some shit done. So yeah, tread softly, for you tread on my artillery witch. Yeah, don't do that. They don't like it. You're not going to enjoy it. How involved are you with the creators, and did they ever tell you stuff from the lore that they've yet to reveal to the community? Yes. A fuck ton of stuff I know that isn't out there yet because of the way that the game develops and the way that all things develop, right? They'll have an idea and they'll be working on a thing and they'll let me know because they think they're close to it being done and releasing it out, but then something else will kind of push it, or they'll want to redo art or lore or, you know, whatever, and it'll be delayed. Like, I first saw the map in November last year. Not this map, obviously, but I saw the kind of initial sketch out of the map in November last year. That was a long time to be sitting on the map and knowing that the map existed and not being able to say or do fuck all about it, just having it weighing on my head like a brick on a sheet of rubber. Have you ever considered working with them? I mean, who wouldn't consider it? But like, is there anything I could do for them? Like, technically, I guess I've already worked with them because I did the trailer and I've done a few bits and pieces, and, you know, we've hammered out some lore and I've done a bit of editing. Like, I've helped out in little ways, but like, I'm assuming what you're asking is whatever, like, join the team, and they would have no need for me. And that's not being mean or anything. That's just like, why would you, if you were a Trench Crusade team, why would you want to work with me outside of my enthusiasm, obviously, for the product? But like, what would I bring that any of their contacts and their friends and the people that they've worked with on other stuff wouldn't bring? Like, I literally joked one day with Tomas. I said, if you ever do an internship, I'm applying. Like, that would be my level, right? Would be like, I'd go in as an intern, 100%, and just learn and all the rest of it. But if it's up to me, if I want that kind of thing to ever happen, I need to get my ass in gear and start properly designing and working with people on my own projects and building things up. And there's definitely plans that I can't go into, but like, I 100% have stuff that I want to do, both in the Trench Crusade universe and outside of it, and I'm working towards those things. So, have I ever considered working with them? 100%. Would I be able to? No, I wouldn't even be close to their level. I've got so much work to do before I could even get close to to properly helping out on a project like that. Dylan, I came up with a hell faction that uses, excuse me, I hiccuped, that uses machines as conduits for demons. Oh, I hiccuped again. I think I've got the hiccups for real. God damn it. And I have yet to reveal, like Baal and Beelzebub to possess, so they can better command their armies and use their powers while obeying the Covenant. That's kind of sick. I don't know if it's balanceable, but it's dope as fuck. Like, it's a really smart way around it. I don't know if the Covenant would count the soul. I think it would be good to balance that out. I think if they put if they spent some of themselves, right, to do it, like they spent a small part of their intent to power it up. It was like a battery almost. And they could like use it in very, to give it a task, or almost like a hell golem, I guess. Would be pretty sick, like from a balance point of view. But that's a dope idea, dude. That's a really good idea. I haven't heard of the Hellbots yet. That sounds awesome. Yeah, the automatons were covered in the War Cardinal lore that just dropped this week. Do we know anything about the space program? Yo, I know one thing about the fucking space program. I know there's Christians on the moon. Wrap your head around that one. Now, I don't know shit all more than that, and we're not going to until either rulebook or further on. But it was that, like, and I don't know if the devs were like yanking chains or whatever, but I know that they mentioned Christians on the moon. So yeah, there you go. A group of pilgrims on their way to the front line would be amazing. RP, yeah, that would be sick. Like, imagine kind of, you're getting to know the party is represented. It's kind of built in, so that would be sick. Bro, little creative genius. If you won't pat yourself on the back, we will. Stuff like that is cool, but like, it's just like creative genius is a whole different level. It looks like hell doesn't have stronghold of much, but what's up with that? Yeah, we kind of touched on that earlier. It's kind of, they're losing a bit harder than people think, or the map is lying, or like these areas are just active armies. They're not actually all the heretic areas. They're just places where active armies are. So there's going to be like secret towns, cities, villages, entire fiefdoms that are probably heretics, known and unknown. Like, there's a lot to it, basically. Where am I? That's because Britain wrote the map. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's a big old, it's maybe not necessarily true. So, there's a lot to the map to consider. The fact that somebody's probably fucking lying, essentially, through the map. And like, one thing people need to keep in mind is the fact that Tomas and Mike and the rest of the devs, they're very happy to have me wandering around confusing things for people. Like, they don't have a problem with it. Like, I've been respectful with everything that I've explored, but I've also just, I've made shit up and I've just thrown it in there, and it's become part of the community's head canon. And they've always said they want that kind of very soft canon, unreliable narrator vibe to the game. So this could be a giant fucking lie as well. You can't tell with them. That's why I like the devs so much. You want to see a split between England and mainland church. So like Church of England or something different. Give us a bit more detail on what you want to see. I don't think the yellow is really red. I think the yellow is what they think is yellow, or I think parts of the yellow might be red, or there could be any number of lies baked into the map, any number of fudging the lines here, fudging the lines there. I mean, if you think about it, there's famous instances throughout history of kings having maps drawn up, knowingly having the lines of duchies and things moved around, and then using those to confuse other kings about who owned what. You know, there's a lot of funky shit throughout history. So who knows what kind of lies could be on the map. Where's Prussia on the map? I only see the Holy Roman Empire there. Yeah, there was something about Prussia being kind of purposefully left off the map, but it's not something that I've had fully explained to me just yet. But they knew what they were doing basically when they left Prussia off the map. If you think about it, Prussia's the only democracy, so they might not be willing to acknowledge it. We know that the Holy Roman Empire is willing to let Prussia do its thing, but maybe whoever had this map drawn is like, nah, fuck Prussia, I'm not acknowledging them. I assume they're the Teutonic Order. Maybe the sea serpents are how some of the laymen of the faithful interpret the heretic submarines. Yeah, you know, that's actually a fucking great take as well. Man, Chili, you're coming up with some good shit, dude. That's a great way to look at it too. Maybe they are, like, it's like the Here Be Monsters thing, right? It's a thing that they can't necessarily explain. So there you go. They're like, oh, it's a sea serpent. It's a long, tubular shape in the sea. Looks like a fucking squid or something. Who knows? And you know, heretics are not balling around in like the most hydrodynamic of ships. I would say they probably make them look pretty fucked up. So I hope we will get great Moravia warband. I hope we get all the warbands. Archcast has been hammering Trench Crusade. Like, who cares? People are allowed to dislike things and they're allowed to like things, and if their dislike of things is unreasonable or reasonable, it doesn't really matter. Like, nothing changes. It shouldn't affect anybody whether somebody does or doesn't like Trench Crusade. It's like over the weekend when the map came out, and there was like, I think I saw 2 people go, oh, this map is like Islamophobic or something, and I was just sitting there going, well, it isn't, and if you knew anything about the game you wouldn't think that. But I saw people getting really worked about it on Twitter, and I'm like, why? It's just somebody who thinks something maybe foolish or stupid or silly or wrong, but the rush to engage and the, like, this is something that people have been trained into at this point, this rush to react and not take a moment and just think, does it really matter what that person thinks? Does it actually matter if they have a misinterpretation of like a game? It shouldn't. Like, you all, like, I think everybody knows at this point, I like the devs. Like, I like Tomas, I like Mike, I like them as people, but this is a product that they're selling. This is the intersection of art and commerce, yes, but ultimately is a product that they are selling. We should not be losing parts of our day to arguing on the internet about products. It just, guys, it shouldn't happen. So just ignore all that kind of stuff. If Arch or anybody else wants to hammer the game, that's his job. Like, what the fuck else is he gonna do? From what I can tell, that's how he makes his money. He sits there and he publicly dislikes things. I don't want to focus on stuff that I don't like. He does. That's groovy. Where was I? The Kickstarter, ? Mentioned the possibility of the Leviathan being released in Earth's oceans. Yeah, that would be like scary as fuck. So, could be submarines, could be Leviathan, could be both. Anyone see the Trench Crusade table at Adepticon? It was amazing. The fully built up table, like with the super levels and stuff. Yeah, I saw that shit. It was incredible. The pushing border still on the map. I think its status is independent is kind of, yeah, exactly. I don't think they want to acknowledge it on the map. Basically, I think they want to go, look, fuck you. We'll allow you your democracy and your independence because you've got like dope ass factories and we need what you make, but we're not gonna like put you on this map. Basically, would make a lot of sense. Hello, Scanner's wife. Yes, hello, my wife. No problem, mate. Not a problem at all. There's my wife. Hello. Landscape. Do suspect Hell is going to lean increasingly more into the Skaven-esque aspect as the lore develops? I don't know, to be honest. I honestly don't know. I try to not get caught up too hard in speculation, only because I don't think it's fair. Like, as somebody asked earlier, do I know stuff that other people don't? Yes, I do. So I try not to speculate too much, because I feel like I could, like, give the game away, say something I don't intend to say, look smarter than I am, or whatever. Does that make sense? So I try to just not say things sometimes. I guess because I know stuff. I don't want to be giving the game away on things. Tom Warren, the existence of the Golden Horde implies there was a time when the Mongol Empire fought the forces of Hell, and I love that. Yes, like they're probably like active the whole way across the map there, right? They almost have to be. I think that 13 colonies in the US should still exist and be a very Solomon Kane style culture, and have Beast faction be the major threat in the Appalachians. Yes, no, I like the idea. I think it's pretty cool. I don't think you need to go to the original 13 colonies to do that and to have it be interesting. I think you can have very failed attempts to colonize by whomever got there, and I think that there can be bigger things to worry about over there than necessarily what am I trying to hint at? I feel like this is always the most dangerous thing, because I haven't decided yet if I want the game to stay strictly on the Abrahamic or expand outwards, basically. So I'm just going to slide on past that one until I've made up my own mind. They should come out with a Hell map. Yes, I agree 100%. A map of Hell. Show us Hell. Show us what Hell looks like. Is it 7 circles? Is it more? Is it less? I would love to know more about Hell and how it's made up, and where is this? And like, this is in DIS. I know I'm Irish, so I have to I have to be very obvious when I'm talking about the city. And what else is close to it, and all that kind of stuff would be pretty sick. Turn your mic up, please. No, I think my mic is okay. I might be wrong. You can turn your speakers up. That's an easier solution. England didn't even conquer Wales. They didn't settle any part of the New World. Colonization by European powers just didn't happen. Yeah, that's what I'm vibing with. Like, I kind of feel like anything that would have got there would have had no true lines of support whatsoever. The success of colonies was very often predicated on trade and support with their home countries. So it's a hard one. I mean, a map of Earth from Hell's View. Oh, you mean like the shit that they control? Interesting. That'd be pretty dope. The main concept artist is an inspiration for the team. Wayne Barlow's Inferno for his own take on Hell. Yeah, Wayne Barlow's, like, the team have mentioned that they like love Barlow's stuff. So, my God, the chat's burning along, and I keep missing so much. I'm so far behind. Oh, Fran, I'm so sorry I missed that. Thank you. You don't have to do that. Just, I I appreciate it though, but you don't have to like give any money or do a highlighted question because I might not know the answer. And with this case, I don't. I have no idea if it's coming soon. I don't know how I missed that. It's like big and blue, but like, yeah, like giving me any kind of money for anything is a waste. But thank you so much. Like, it's a very kind gesture. I always try to, I don't want to be dismissive, when people do that, but it makes me a little awkward, I guess, to get money off people. And the only reason I turned on that stuff is because it kind of gives you like at the time anyway, it gave you like a little boost in the algorithm. They would push you a little harder if they can monetize you a little more. Chat, do we think Beelzebub being represented as red in the map has something to do with the cover variant? I think Beelzebub being red on the map is just because that's what people think of when they think of demons. It's just red. I don't know if the person who drew the map would have had any idea. Like, Beelzebub's greedy, so he's got a bunch of hands for grabbing. Like, he's gluttonous, right? You got the hands for grabbing. Greed. Lots of hands for grabbing. Some of them gold because he's grabbing money. Some of them red because he's grabbing life. Dripped out. Like, they're very artistic interpretations, right, of how the demons might look and what they might mean and all the rest of it. But I don't know if it's necessarily factual. Going to play Path of Exile 2 this weekend. I'm assuming that's Path of Exile 2, right? Trench Talk, that's Lakey, everybody. Go follow Trench Talk 2. Maybe it's Pillars of Eternity 2? I don't know what it is. Pilgrims on the Moon. Moon Jesus. Before Christians reach Mars, I get massive martial boost. Yeah, they could do it like The Expanse. Would be pretty sick. Alrighty, I'm almost catching up here. Colonization not being a thing is a very big reason as to why the 13 colonies went. Yeah. Scanner has a wife. Yes, Scanner has a wife. Even fucking lore nerds can get wives. It is true. Afraid of accidentally spilling secret knowledge, not beating the magic door allegations, dude. Yeah, I mean, true. There is a chance that Napoleon doesn't even exist since his mother's family came from Lombardy. A relatively big chunk of Lombardy has been taken by hell. Maybe Napoleon's hell. Maybe he's one of their little demon dudes. Well, there's no demon dudes over there, right? There's just Avignon, so that's interesting. I don't know if that joke is, or if that question now is a piss take or what. Trying to paint plate on a kilt. Yeah, good luck with that one. I tend to avoid any kind of attempt to paint a straight line on anything. It's not going to happen for me. Yeah, it looks like England is encompassed by divine protection. I wonder how it looks like in the lore. That's why we're feeling like whoever commissioned the map in-game is more than likely from England. And I'm just hoping they don't try and invade Ireland again, so... Scanner, what do you think adding more fantasy elements to Trench Crusade, such as elves or fairies, evil ones, or demonic dragons in a Trench Crusade style, like the harpies on the Aspasi captain's shoulder? Well, the harpies kind of explain themselves because they're Taquin bird, I guess. I don't think I like it too much because you'd have to do it very carefully and you'd have to tie it in a very specific way. And once again, I don't want to give too much away here, but like I've seen the conversations occur around bringing in some fantastical elements, and they really have to make a lot of sense for the thing that exists right now, which is the Abrahamic gods. Why would anybody, want to do it? Like, why would anybody want to make elves? There'd probably be no reason to make elves. You could potentially have demonic dragons because demons just think it's funny. But is there any reason to worry about demonic dragons when there's no gameplay value to them right now? I'm assuming, let me put it this way. We once had a conversation about hell having like blimps, which are just like big floating corpses that are kept afloat with their own like fetid gases. So, I mean, anything can happen. Anything can be used to explain away anything or the need for anything, as long as there's some kind of internal logic to the currently established systems anyway. So I just don't want it to become too diluted, basically, is what I'm saying. So what happened to Iceland? You mean Ultima Thule? Who knows? It's probably just cold. Look at that shit. It looks cold. So, it also looks like it's kind of closed off a little bit, so who knows? Blah, 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 blah. Where was I? Lots of colonization stuff. I talk about that a lot, so I'm just going to kind of skip over. You can have, you can have your own conversations in the chat. That's why this is supposed to be fun. Though America doesn't exist in its current form, if Napoleon is general for hell, I'd love to see Toussaint Louverture taking him on for the fateful. Imagine trying to say Teddy Roosevelt as a young Rough Rider against the forces of hell. Yeah, with that tash, let's go. He'd fucking win. Watching my Padres play the Cubs, what a great day. Now that truly is hell. More like they do even know about the new world. Hell Blimp, yes, Hell Blimp. What happened to Iceland? No idea. What happened to Iceland? Like in Slither, that super big woman with all those things in her. Yo, not many people have seen Slither. That's a good call, man. That's a dope fucking movie. I've always really enjoyed that. It's for anyone who doesn't know, Slither is a Nathan Fillion flick, and it's really good. It's like that. What's the genre? I call it like non-horror horror. From the late 90s, early 2000s, there was this run of basically non-horror horror movies. Like, they were kind of safe to watch even if you didn't like horror movies, because they weren't necessarily so horrible, strangely enough. And it's actually directed by, it's a very early James Gunn movie. I don't think it was gross. I thought it was just fine. It was just a thing. See, well, I'm assuming we're still talking about Slither there. Actually, that might not be the case. Iceland being so geographically isolated would make for a cool base for heretic subs operating around the North Sea. Yeah, that's a pretty dope take. It has one of those divine rings around it too. It does have a divine ring around it, or it just has a separation on the map, or it has a divine ring but no rays. Right, so it's not even gold on the inside like these ones are, which is kind of interesting. So, who knows? See, that's why I like this game, because we're all just sitting here like theory crafting, coming up with shit, and it's fun. It'd be more fun to have Native American factions siding with and against hell. Something like the Iroquois against the Appalachian tribes. Yeah, like it needs to have its own thing, right? It needs to be reacting its own way to what's occurring. And like, I'm sure the devs have a vision for what they'd like to do, but I would like the thing that ends up being done to be far more native than just another version of Europe. And I'm sorry, like, I'm terribly sorry to say that. to any Americans. Like, I realize it's very belittling to have me say just another version of Europe. I mean, like, within the Trench Crusade universe, obviously, because America just wouldn't have developed. I want to write a story about word I can't pronounce. I'm not going to say that. As a black rail missionary having a petty fight over a shack against Nietzsche as a heretic priest. That's, I mean, do it. Definitely do it. SpongeBob, I assume the East will get the Cathay treatment: written, forgotten, rebooted, released. That's how it goes. If a Trench Crusade game is in the works, what would you like it to be? Like a video game? I would like anything. Like, I like a lot of games, but somebody said they'd like it to be like Mount and Blade, and that one has been sitting in my head since I saw the comment on the video. That something like Mount and Blade would be a pile of fucking fun, I think. Yeah, I don't talk about the no potatoes thing. We've had there was no exploration of Patagonia. Ireland doesn't have potatoes. I don't like thinking about it. Like, we're all sacrificing for the story development of Trench Crusade, and I'm sacrificing Ireland having potatoes. So we're all doing our bit. Is Kingdom of Namibia and Morocco Christian? I'm guessing from the double cross on Unreliable. Well, yes, because that's one of the things that people seem, well, a couple of people anyway, seem to take issue with on Twitter, of all fucking places, was the fact that, like, these places that might be non-Christian are all obviously Christian now. And it's because when the Great Iron Wall came up, the Sultan called everybody home behind the wall for safety. So yes, they just kind of, you know, whatever was left behind, the Christians would have just gone, well, it's ours now. So yeah, Spanish never went to Central America. Mayans and Aztecs still going strong. That would be an interesting alt take. Estimation on how they could have grown. Yeah, like, that would be the way to do it, I feel. One of the things with Ultimate Duel, if you imagine for a second that a lot of the world hasn't actually been explored yet, then it may explain a ring. The 800 years covers the exploration of the world. Yeah. Like, they might just not know what's there or care to any great degree finding out until they maybe it is the point originally that, like, it's never really been explored by us, but the heretics know. So we need that hell map that Doom was talking about. The vampires fighting for good, I'm so interested in. Yeah, everybody wants, like, Super Vlad for Christ, basically. And I can't say as they blame them, because that would be pretty dope. I'd love a Total War style game too. Yeah, that would be another really nice way to do it. A huge part of me, because I'm a massive XCOM nerd, is I would love that, like, tactical level of a game. Essentially the game as a video game would be really fun. I kind of wish more war games would do that, because as somebody who is very ill, like, getting to play for real is an extreme rarity. And that's the problem with, like, chronic illness and shit like that. So if there was, like, essentially a video game version of Trench Crusade, I would be pretty fucking happy. And I know there's Tabletop Simulator. I use Tabletop Simulator. I'm not saying Tabletop Simulator isn't dope, and I have a video coming about using Tabletop Simulator and how to play specifically Trench Crusade on it. But I'm just saying, it'd be pretty sick. For real, Diablo 4 sucked ass. It wasn't the most fun I ever had playing a game. It also wasn't the least fun I ever had playing a game. I thought it was fine. And I don't think that's necessarily what Blizzard would have been going for. I don't think they set out with the aspiration of some Irish lad is going to sit on a stream and say this game is fine. I think they would have been very disappointed had they known that that's where they were going to end up. What up, Bread? Good to see you back. Where are we? Bop. I would definitely love a Left 4 Dead Dark Tide style trench coat game. Or simply Call of Duty 2 style game. Yeah, a Dark Tide thing would be pretty dope. Imagine you're... Like, you could follow that Dark Tide pattern pretty closely, I think. You could have a communicant would be your Ogren for sure. You could stick a shock trooper in there. You could have... Who else would I have? I'd probably go communicant, mechanized heavy, stormtrooper, trench coat. I think kind of a 2 for 2. And I'd save, because I'm a cheeky fuck, I would save the Iron Sultanate troops. They would get their own DLC, and it would probably outsell the base game because of the drip. Hereward Games Expo in September. Have fun, man. Enjoy yourself. I don't see America being colonized. Yeah. America. Hi, Scanner. Hi, chat. Hey, Dark. How are you? Oh, my cat's freaking out. Hang on. Give me a second. Apologies. Cloudy Cat is notoriously rude when she wants something. I need that TTS video for personal research. Yeah, no, there's a bunch of shit I need to get stuck into. I owe someone, I'm not going to say, I owe them a script for a video. I owe somebody else a script for a collab video. I owe somebody else a deadline date for a script for a collab video. I've got the Great Hunger Chat coming up on Monday. I've got a story about a member of the Rough and Readies, a solo story ready to go. That's pretty much good to go. The first one is going to be about Burke. I thought Burke would be the guy to go with first, and that will be dropping like next week. It was meant to drop this week, but this week kind of got a little interesting, I guess. And yeah, lots of stuff to do, lots of videos to make. I also got to make sure that my tabletop sim info is like proper up to date, so I'll need to talk to Dark and Alex before I commit to the script, basically. So yeah, I'll get, my plan is to get it done as quickly as I can, and also my plan is to do there'll be some tabletop sim games on these streams. I've been talking to some people about it. We want to do it. We just want to, people will be playing games. There'll be a couple of us being like a commentary team, essentially talking about the game as it happens. It'll be chill. It's not about being like hyper competitive or anything like that. It's just about a good way maybe to talk about rules and show rules, and stuff like that. Any lore about Mecha? The only lore that we really have about Mecha is that it is defended. People seem to be feeling defended by a sandstorm that you can't get through, and every now and then the House of Wisdom tries to get there, but they're just not able to do it. It's kind of like Trezobond for the Methodians, so they just can't get to it. Now, common consensus is that Mecha is being protected by the sandstorm. I don't know what way I'm feeling on that. I feel like maybe it's being protected, maybe it was cut off by the other guy, essentially. Maybe God miracled in the Iron Wall. The other guy did this thing. That was their play. in the moment. So I'm not sure, basically, what way I want to actually believe that or anything else. Can you tell me more about Avignon on what the outskirts look like? No, but I can't do it for a very good reason. If you bear with me for like a few days to a couple of weeks, I'll be able to do it. Or at least I'll do it in a more interesting way than just sitting here talking about it on a stream. So yeah, bear with me on Avignon. That's definitely something that's being explored on the channel over the coming weeks. I'd like to see rules to mix factions together to create your own sub-faction. So pick between a new Antioch or Pilgrim leader, Janissary or Stigmatic Non, Lion of Jabir or Mech Infantry. I think a whole ass game mode would be kind of fun. Balance issues are balance issues. Ultimately, kind of the factions are balanced the way they're balanced. You need a thing that kind of throws balance out the window and people are just playing it because it's fun. So you would have, the mode for me would be big brawl, like massive full scale war occurs, and it's the last hours, and it's those last fights, and people are just banding together with anyone around them who looks friendly and just trying to live. That would be the way I would approach something like that. I don't think you could just mix lists that way because the balance would be absolutely fucked. But with the right mode, the balance doesn't matter. So that would be the way to do it. There was an interesting sketch of a Scolomancer as part of Vlad's faction. In our mythos, they were actually taught by demons. They punished the greedy, though. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna look that one up. That's really interesting. I like the hour, or I like the idea there. No, like I don't mean like the last hours of existence. I just mean like the last bit of the fight, you know. Just like we're wrapping up this fight. I just want to get out of here. You just want to get out of here. We'll band together, even though you're a trench pilgrim and I'm a mechanized heavy infantry or whatever. So, but even there, like, that's what a court wouldn't get to. You'd maybe mix between Grail and Heretic Legions and lose Warwolves and Amalgam, but you're already dropping shit out of lists because inherently there's a massive balance issue. So the best bet is just either play the game or fuck balance out the window completely. Like, just have it be fun. Like, balance shouldn't matter in that kind of mode because that kind of mode is almost strictly narrative. It's not something that would carry forward into a campaign, but you can still have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, I checked out 1490 Doom too. It looks really interesting. The one thing that really kind of caught my interest about 1490 Doom, and maybe I was just looking at it wrong, was how small the play area was. Which I was into, you know. Like, tell me if I'm wrong, Paint, but is that literally like the play area? Just that little round table, or a little round like terrain piece, essentially. Dude, I'm into it, man. I'm fucking into it. Like, small footprint stuff is that's it for me right now. Like, just small imprint stuff has a real appeal, and I think it does for a lot of us, right? Because you're limiting your overall investment and stuff. But yeah, like, ever since you told me about it, I was having a peek, and it's definitely something that I want to I'm gonna Kickstarter it and help them out that way. And for sure, I want to support them. I think they're doing something really interesting. So there you go. Shout out on the stream as well for 1490 Doom. It looks super cool. Go check it out if you're loving the grim dark shit. So yeah, okay, I got lost now. I got lost in the sauce. America might be in the hands of Native Americans, and they might have shamans and all that to fight back against hell. Yeah, why not? Could do anything. Could be anything. Alrighty, I'm gonna wrap the stream now. I was pretty fucked up and tired this week, so an hour and a half is good because we're gonna be streaming on Monday, obviously with Taylor. Let me just check the time of that stream because I've completely forgotten what time we agreed to do it at. I know Taylor's not here because he's not talking shit. 2:30 p.m. EST, which is what time for me? Okay, 7:30 my time. An hour later, or a half hour later than the usual stream start time. Basically, we'll be streaming the live Q&A. So feel free to send me messages with thingies in them, with your questions in them, or ask them live on the night. Yeah, dude, you suck, man. You suck, loser. No, sorry. I feel bad about it. I'm just too tired to stay streaming tonight. I'm pretty fucked up from this week was a whole thing. So yeah, so I'm gonna wrap it up here, and we'll stream again on Monday. I think streams will become more common and at different times because I want to stream just myself, just doing more hobby, just like painting and stuff like that. I think it will help me like focus in on the things that I want to do. So yeah, bring your questions about the Great Hunger on Monday for Taylor. Taylor's a super fucking cool dude. I've been getting to know him, and I'm really looking forward to this chat. It's going to be dope. So everybody have a fun time. Dark, we might do I might fish around for some of the tabletop folks and kind of do a little bit of a chat or whatever over the weekend to kind of button down some plans or thoughts around these kind of Friday night fights things. So if you're around, I'll give you a shout. You're welcome in that chat. Alrighty. Peace out, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I still get kind of surprised that every week about 60 people show up and just want to chill and talk about the game and shoot the shit, and I'm really enjoying them far more than I have ever enjoyed live streaming before. So thank you all for taking part. Big thank you to anybody who did a super thanks. Completely unnecessary, but hugely appreciated. Alrighty, I will see you all later. Bye.